explicit connotations. I'm Elise from the crowdfunded translation project, and wanted to just tell you a little bit about what that project is and give you some updates about what I've been doing with your support. The Inessa Armand project. After finishing Kalantai's social basis of the female question, I put out a call for suggestions for the next project. One of those suggestions that I received was to translate the essays and letters of Inessa Armand, Kalantai's predecessor at the Bolshevik women's section. Suppressed by Stalin and never translated into English, Armand's writings enrich our understanding of the Bolshevik women's movement in the run-up to the October Revolution and the early days of revolutionary Russia. With your support, I have been able to translate all of her extant essays and am currently raising the last $1,950 to cover the cost of translating the remainder of her extant works, which at this point is just her correspondence. If you would like to support the project, all contributions are beautiful. You'll find links in the description. The Punto Final project is a project that is really just at its inception. Punto Final, for those unfamiliar with it, i.e. likely most of the people watching this right now, was a magazine edited by Manuel Caviese Donoso that ran from 1965 to the eve of the 1973 CIA-backed coup in Chile, and then from 1989 to 2018, publishing a grand total of 894 issues. In addition to being a platform for theoretical and ideological debate, they were also a source of excellent political journalism. Their real-time analysis of political developments in Chile, the rise of the Unidad Popular, the looming coup, and the limits of electoralism has aged extremely well, and is well worth reading for anyone interested in the period. The Indian left is sort of in a media bubble, and the Anglosphere left really doesn't do a great job of breaking that bubble and really building connections there. So the discussion that you hear in English about Chile, even in supposed left outlets, such as Jardin, often has little or nothing to do with the state of discussion amongst comrades in Chile. So this is part of my attempts to contribute to sort of breaking down that bubble and fostering some understanding of the thought amongst revolutionaries in Chile, both historically and currently. I have so far translated 7 articles, including a long read on electoralism versus armed struggle called Chile, the Ballot or the Bullet by Punto Final editor Manuel Caviese, and currently am working on various pieces of political analysis from the eve of the electoral campaign that would bring Salvador Allende to power, or at least to government. These include discussions of electoral versus revolutionary strategy and how and to what extent these things can coexist, discussions of US imperialist interference in Chilean politics, One of the challenges of this project, since its inception, has been getting the word out. The billionaire-controlled black box algorithms that dominate our lives don't like small creators or small projects. Nor are they particularly keen on ideological viewpoints that are inconsistent with the whims of billionaires. What's more, they positively detest anyone who isn't paying for reach. And then they turn around and make it ever harder to do even that in a useful way. The result of all
But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host at Untitled Anarchist Seagull, called Elise. How's everybody doing, chat? I've got a couple of new things that showed up in my recommendations, and also a new thing that showed up in my garden. I've already sliced it up for these purposes, so I can't really show it to you the way I would like to. But this is a Caribbean red chili that has just the first of its kind to ripen in my garden. I've never had one of these. I do not know anything about the nature of the beast. And I'm using chopsticks because of that. Because for one thing, it just doesn't work really well with a fork, just because of the way I've sliced it up, but also because I don't want to find out that this is really strong, like level lacrimogena, and then rub my, get it on my hands and then rub my eyes, because that isn't fun. So I think I'm going to just kind of try some of this live on stream as we get started. Now, the first thing that showed up, this actually, I wouldn't have noticed this unless, it just showed up in my recommendations literally about 10 minutes ago. I've never heard of this channel. It's called Wick TV. It's like 14,000 subscribers, and judging from the video titles anyway, some fairly extravagant takes. And I thought we might start out with one of those. It's called "Tankies Have Infiltrated the Democratic Party." And apart from everything else, this is just a wonderful data point on the descent of the term tanky into utter meaninglessness, because literally none of the people that they're talking about fit the bill. But so I figured, why don't we have a look? Never watched this channel before, have no idea, apart from just amazing takes, what awaits. So we're going to find out together. It'll be an odyssey or something. Let me know if I need to adjust the audio, of course. This is a full stream, so we're probably not going to watch the whole thing. Okay, don't recognize any of these people. Oh, the prominently displayed American flags kind of tells me a little bit already. So,
hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the RGR Roundtable. I am your hostess, Riley Grace Armstrong, and these are our wonderful panelists.
Okay, I'm not sure what RDR stands for here either, because as far as I know, this is Wick TV, but there we go. I mean, I guess...
Hey, hi, wonderful panelists.
Hi, wonderful panelists.
Hi, wonderful panelists.
Whoa. Yay!
Hi, wonderful panelists.
Sorry, you can tell I've been on a dropout bench. Quick housekeeping. Everyone can hear me fine, audio fine, all good on my end?
Okay, skipping ahead, I assume their audio is fine. Hello, Adria. Ouais, j'ai fait faire attention. C'est pour ça j'ai mon antidote. Du cidre. One thing I have learned from eating a lot of very good and very spicy Indian food is that there's a very interesting interaction between really spicy food and beer and cider. That they somehow cancel each other out. The beer cancels out at least some of the most intense part of the spice, and the spice, I guess because of its interaction with your stomach lining, kind of cancels out a substantial part of the beer. I don't quite understand how that works, but I know that it does. So, okay, let's see. Bien sûr, mon petit. We are about to find out the nature of the beast. In both cases.
Rhetorical equivalent of having a Hitler mustache, except for Mao. And allowing, someone like Hassan to go in interviews with, like, a Mao outfit.
Something like a Mao outfit, yes. Something like... this is tasty. Something like a Mao outfit. Because it literally isn't one. Mao did not invent that.
It is literally on the same level of, like, imagine, like, J.D. Vance or someone, I don't know, someone else going on an interview with, like, a Hitler mustache.
So, okay. So we're just starting out with just trivializing the Nazis. Just some wonderful horseshoe takes incoming. I'm already impressed. I mean, that suit was popularized in China well before Mao.
And the fact that we have vice presidents in notorious college organizations that represent Democrats, covering on behalf of someone like Hassan, who does the...
What notorious college organizations? Pas de fromage cette fois. Seulement du cidre et des chili.
Rhetorical equivalent of having a Hitler mustache, except for Mao, is absolutely insane. This is a real...
Well, so what you're saying is that if Mao were equivalent to Hitler, then this would be equivalent to Hitler. That's such a fascinating construction where it's like, okay, he did a thing that is totally not equivalent to the thing that we're comparing it to. But what if it were equivalent? What if we just kind of said that it were equivalent?
As soon as possible.
Thank you. Going around, North, could you please introduce yourself and give your position?
Hey, I'm Ryan, otherwise known as North Online. You can find me at YouTube at...
And the wild thing is, they're just seizing on the fact that he wore a suit. Popularized not by Mao, but by actually Sun Yat-sen. It is that he, I imagine, bought in China, but does not actually look like the suit, any suit that Mao has ever worn in any photograph of him I've seen. Because look at the tailoring, it is a different animal entirely. But so they're just focusing on the fact that he wore a suit that he bought in China, basically. Not anything he stands for, because he's just a sockdam. Not any, it's just he's wearing this suit, guys. I mean, this is the same shit that David Pac-Man was doing.
.com/North is live. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that tankies are starting to gain some momentum within the Democratic Party.
Watch out. Okay. Well, here's the thing to watch for. Whether any of these people ever defines the term. So far, tanky means a sockdem who wears a suit from China.
Where this comes from, we can talk about it. I think it's probably due to some sort of reciprocal radicalization, as well as this
reciprocal radicalization.
Misunderstanding about left-right dynamic, and when it should be like liberal versus illiberal, and we'll get into that.
Oh, okay. Yes, it should be liberal versus illiberal. We're just adopting a term that a fascist invented in order to describe his version of fascism. I mean, and he's okay. He wants to avoid the left-right dynamic and instead focus on liberal versus illiberal because it allows him to equate leftism with fascism. That's what he's trying to do. Because if you actually separate them out and talk about how they're different, because they're different, they're very different in all sorts of ways, then it's really hard to scaremonger around the fact that somebody might be calling for universal health care and maybe some rent control, possibly. I don't even know if Hassan has ever said anything about rent control. Wouldn't surprise me if he did. But, like, the stuff that is being described as extremism is all very standard in lots of other places.
So.
Thank you. Moving on, Alish, could you please introduce yourself and state your position?
Hello, my name is Alish, and I definitely believe the DSA party overall is a...
DSA party. That is so cute. That they, you know, if they had that level of independence, that would actually be an improvement over what they are.
A problem for democracy. I went through...
It's a problem for democracy, Chet. I can't wait to hear how it's a problem for democracy that there's a group trying to democratize the Democratic Party. Now, let's leave aside whether that's even possible, but that is what they're trying to do. That is their stated goal.
Their website and read all of their core beliefs, and essentially it reminds me of the equivalent of, when I become school president, I'm gonna put soda in all the water fountains and make homework illegal. It essentially just like...
Okay, so her problem is that she thinks really basic social democratic things that a lot of countries have are the equivalent of soda in all the water fountains.
Boils down to that for me. They're making a lot of promises and a lot of things that are kind of like contradictory. And a lot of the promises that they're making are essentially like a Trumpism to me. Like
okay. I can't wait to hear more about this. Like, which thing is she saying? Because they're not talking...
They're standing up making...
First of all, I don't think they actually say that they are promises. They are goals. They are demands. They are the stated political objectives of the DSA. And if anything, the real criticism is that they are such a compromise in the first place, they won't get us anywhere near where we need to be just to have a good shot of survival in this climate disaster.
Promises, and I hardly think that they're going to keep even one or two of them. So essentially, I find that...
So she didn't read it.
And this might be a little bit controversial, but I find that maybe some DSA policies can work in a microcosm, such as, like, very isolated, but overall it's not going to work.
Like what? I mean, what things is she even talking about?
Like, large scale.
Great, thank you. I'll also make a note there. We can come back and circle on this about whether or not we're going to define DSA as being tankies, or like what's the scope of the problem, or the scope...
I mean, if you are, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like what Hillary Clinton, during that absolutely obviously doomed campaign, likened majority demands for universal health care to a kid wanting a pony. I mean, just the level of just arrogance, I think.
Of like, who are we classifying as a group of concern within the Democratic Party, but we can come back to that. Thank you so much. Rounding us off for introductions.
A group of
could you please
concern.
introduce yourself and tell us what your position is?
Like, who the hell are these people? I mean, if anyone in chat has any idea who these... I've never seen any of them. I've never heard of Wick TV. But I'm very curious. This turns out not to be anywhere near as intense as I thought, which is to say a lot of people would probably find this to be somewhere on the level of bogarting a tear gas grenade. And I will say my first experience of tear gassing left me somewhat disappointed that it wasn't as spicy as I was expecting. So you can take that as an indicator, I suppose. But yeah, here we go. Hello.
Yeah, as stated, my name is Wick. I'm at Wick TV on most platforms. I think that for far too long, people have downplayed the threat that illiberalism...
illiberal, like, define.
And illiberal actors are to the Democratic Party.
Like, how are we even defined? Because these people, like, literally, they have not actually mentioned any examples. Ooh. I took a somewhat larger part, and... Chucha, weón. Un poco más fuerte de lo esperado. Well, like, they haven't named... They named Hassan, who... Their objection to Hassan is he wears a suit. But, like, all these people... Like, DSA are liberals. They're social democrats at the best.
In order to defeat Trump, many people within the party have decided to open the doors and open to arsonists. People...
Oh, okay, so... Arsonists, you mean, like, people who are actually kind of cool with starting a war against Iran as long as it's not... As long as they can avoid taking the blame for it. People who will actually vote more and more money to ICE while they are terrorizing the streets. People are kind of cool with genocide? You mean those people, right? Cider. Ooh, shit. Okay, this is much more intense than I thought. That was a tiny little piece. That last one. This, ooh. Yeah, I'm glad I brought the chopsticks. I do not want to be, like, handling this with my fingers.
Whose stated goals are to either burn the party down and build something new in its ashes.
I mean, which wouldn't be a bad idea at all, but that's not their stated goal. I mean, their stated goal is actually to get the party to stand for things that the majority of the party's voters want. Things like universal health care. Things like maybe not committing genocide. Things like actually landlords not getting to do whatever the fuck they want. I mean, if you... The degree to which they can treat this as some sort of 3-alarm fire is entirely dependent on their refusal to mention a single one of the things that they're claiming to object to here. Adria says, the word illiberal keeps coming up among some pseudo-left pundits lately, Mike Figueredo and others. Pretty sure they don't know the use of the term. Yeah, I mean, I think they're just kind of taking their cues from some of these right-wing... I mean, they call themselves centrists, or center-left, which they're not. But these, like, right-wing figures associated with things like the, you know, the third way, dark money heap. Because using the term illiberal, first of all, it's associated with Orban. Orban is the one who really popularized the use of the term to describe fascism, because he didn't want to just call it fascism.
Or to fundamentally change the face of the Democratic Party so that it is no longer a liberal institution or a liberal group.
If only. Yeah, I mean, if only. They make it sound so much better.
I think that these things are existential in nature, and while I would disagree with anyone who would characterize that these people have...
This is like, it's like the quartering here.
Already taken over the party. They have not. This problem is still small.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, since there are no democratic structures in the party at all, they literally cannot do much of anything. I mean, the thing that they're afraid of is literally impossible. No group other than the donors can actually control the Democratic Party. No group that actually operates without the leave of the donors can actually operate the Democratic Party, because then it gets starved of funds. There are no structures that would actually allow this to happen, and actually a lot of these dangerous illiberals are now endorsing fucking Hakeem Jeffries for speaker as, like, I mean, the guy is the absolute just poster child for everything that is wrong with politics at this moment. Hello, Tomas.
Small problems can often become big ones if they are not treated and we do not take them seriously. Tonight, my goal will be to convince people of the severity of the threat.
Oh, I can't wait.
And also propose some solutions on how we can fix this threat. But I guess to answer the question...
Oh, I can't wait to hear how they're going to fix it. How they're going to fix the threat of there being candidates who actually want to oppose MAGA and run on platforms that are actually popular with the voters.
It is, and we need to deal with it. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The sooner we do it, the easier it will be.
Yeah, I mean, the prevention in this case would have been to just have a, functioning welfare state, a functioning healthcare system, maybe not just abandon the entire population to their fates in the middle of an ongoing pandemic. Like, the reason people do not actually have any real trust in any of the political class is precisely that for decades the political class has done nothing but offer them excuses for why there are no solutions, for why their lives keep sucking worse and worse.
Thank you.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. Also, clarification of housekeeping. I turned my volume up a little bit because I was told it was a little quiet. Do I sound better coming through on y'all's end?
You sound the same to me,
Yeah.
but I never had any problems.
Oh, okay. So,
I mean,
anyway, moving ahead, I guess
what
I
gets
want
me
to,
here
we
is
talk about...
I get the impression, yeah, and I may be completely wrong about this, but just from voices and things that I'm picking up on, that there are at least a couple of trans people in here, and they are here to talk about what a threat it is, that there are actually people who, people coming up in Democratic primaries who actually have some likelihood of being willing to go to bat for trans rights, as opposed to the third way motherfuckers who have already just decided to write trans people off and want to collect the insurance.
Solutions. I guess I just want to make sure that we're all relatively on the same page, because it sounds like for the most part we all agree on the fundamental issue of tankies infiltrating the party.
I mean, and that is already such a wild thing to say. I mean, you hear that. If you didn't know what they were talking, like, what did the Communist Party of the USA set up a fucking sleeper cell in there or something like that? I mean, some actual MLs, tankies. Because if we actually use the term in anything approaching its actual meaning, what we're talking about is we're talking about a term that came out from a split amongst Marxist-Leninists in the Communist Party of Britain, when the Soviet Union sent the Red Army into Hungary. You had a faction that considered that the right thing to do, and a faction that opposed that. And the faction of these are all Marxist-Leninists, remember. The faction that opposed that called the ones who supported it tankies. And then at some point, like, anarchists and Trotskyists also called these kinds of Marxist-Leninists tankies. And then liberals found out about it, and since then it means, like, literally anything. Anything that is a little bit to the left of them. Anything that is, that actually involves any kind of improvement for the working class. TK. What up?
I want to ask the panel first. Is there any question or is there any conversation worth having about the scope of this? Or are we counting, like, concerns about socialists or members of the DSA?
Yeah, it would be good if you actually settle on what the fuck you mean by tankies. Since what you very clearly do not mean is anyone normal people who are familiar with the meaning of the term would ever describe as tankies.
Like, is that a conversation that people would like to have?
Well,
or if not,
yeah, I don't know about, like, how long the conversation has to be, but I was telling Kat this earlier, but I guess I'll tell you all. The reason why I think it's important to stress that, and maybe have something on record from all of us, that this is a threat, and kind of,
like, on record? Who are these people that they need to be on record?
Define the scope of the threat. I was watching Live and Learn before I hopped on here, right? Just like 20 minutes ago, I would say. And they were talking about the same subject we're talking about, only in a very, very different manner, right? You had Pisco, Soy Pill, even IRI to some extent, kind of downplaying the threat that this was.
Well, I mean, threat to who is the question? Like, I mean, they're just talking about it like it's just a matter of course, obviously, this is a threat. Well, why exactly? What's the threat? I mean, the threat is you might not, like, if they actually succeed, that you might not have to go through an insurance company in order to get permission to go to the doctor when you're sick. Like, what's the fucking threat? That your rent might go down?
Got so bad that they saw me in chat and Pisco was struggle sessioning Hutch to disavow me because I was.
God! Someone needs to take these terms away from the struggle sessioning. Motherfucker, you don't know what any of these words mean.
Disagreeing in chat, and Pisco was like, "Say you disagree with Wick. Say it. Say he's wrong. Say he's crazy." It was crazy.
I mean,
and
I will say, I mean, I don't know who any of these fucking people are, but I'm pretty sure I disagree with Wick and think Wick is making absolutely no fucking sense. I don't know who Wick is, except for, like, the sort of... It's weird. It's like the, the mirror universe lib version of the quartering. Hello, Zach Dyak. Welcome. Are you new here? I don't think I've seen you before, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Sorry, late to the party. Is this DSA? I heard that they have some kind of libertarian caucus that wanted to decrease democracy within the DSA by ending one person, one vote. No, I'm not sure who the hell these people are, actually. They're talking about the dangerous threat of DSA, who they're calling tankies. Like, they think just bog standard social democrats who want, you know, things that were normal in Western Europe, you know, from basically about 1949 until fairly recently, and in some cases currently. That's what these are just regular ass social democrats, and they're calling them tankies, and they're this huge threat, and they're equating them to fascism. Where are you joining us from, if you don't mind my asking? And if you do mind my asking, feel free to ignore the question. Having another piece of my Caribbean red chili, which is absolutely gorgeous. Most beautiful red color I've had of any of the chilies that I've grown. Well, let's see if this one blows up in my mouth like the last one.
Too many liberal creators, liberal influencers, liberal actors in this space. And again, I do think that Pisco is a liberal, but I think that he has, for whatever reason,
all these motherfuckers
decided that
are.
this isn't a problem, and he's, whether he intends to or not.
Well, oh, yes, exactly. And people should probably not use the word struggle session either. Oh, welcome, welcome. Always a fan of citrus. But, I mean, what's great about this is we are 10 minutes into this stream, and they have yet to actually explain why they think any of this is threatening. Like, they have not mentioned a single example of what's so scary about DSA yet.
Running cover for really bad actors. He's
like what?
Acting as if we have been diagnosed with cancer, but it's only stage 1, so don't worry about it.
Oh, wow. So we're saying that social democrats are a cancer. Well, I mean, that's not, that's totally nothing fascist about that dehumanizing rhetoric. We still, okay, so what's the cancer? What does the cancer do? Why is it so bad? What's the threat, guys?
Not really a problem. But everyone knows the best time to deal with cancer is when it's small. And so, yes, I think that there is a value in discussing what is the scope of this threat, because it's not just the DSA.
Okay, yes, let's hear about this. Let's get into it. Let's find out. What's the scary part?
Would include liberal creators who downplay the DSA or downplay the threat.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, we're creating an enemies list here. And what's really interesting about the enemies list that they're coming up with is that it sounds a lot like the one that Narco Rubio came out with a couple of weeks ago. That was like 43 people who were part of the Cuban communist conspiracy. Isn't it very interesting how so many of these libs have immediately jumped on this sort of fascist bandwagon at the exact same time as this new like escalation of persecution of the left was announced by this government? And what does that tell us perhaps about who is closer to fascism and perhaps is more deserving of being named in the same sentence?
Include otherwise people I would otherwise consider allies who are not taking this seriously. I think that they are also, in their own way, and not to the same severity or scope, a threat to the Democratic Party.
Okay, yeah, I mean, these people who don't understand what a threat it would be if you didn't have health insurance companies killing people. These people who don't understand how threatening it is that maybe your rent might not be able to just go up to arbitrary heights for no good reason at the same time as nothing ever gets fixed in your flat. I mean, you gotta understand the threat. Like,
Okay,
No,
thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, no, okay, I'll go. Thank you. He's right, especially in the sense of the complacency. Honestly, I'm very much reminded of MAGA in its early stages, or at least how the Republicans acted, right?
Like, this is just... It's like they're all auditioning to be the next David Pac-Man. Because every single thing on here, I mean, they have, like, cranked it up. They have cranked up the McCarthy factor to 11. But all of these notes are just shit that David Pac-Man was saying in that video where he was trying to red bait us on as well.
Because what we're seeing is, you can say like two groups of people, right?
Okay, we got two groups of people.
And we're going to see like a repeat of this, okay? So,
well, we're already seeing a repeat because we already saw this exact thing go down with, you know, a different cast of characters for the most part in 2016, 2017. Because we had the exact same fucking thing happen. Trump won an election where he absolutely had no business winning because the Democrats ran somebody who couldn't like the only person they could think of who could possibly lose to him. Hillary fucking Clinton. That, I mean, the minute they did that, the fix was very clearly in because she was the only, and I mean, they had polling that actually showed that she was the one person who could lose to Trump. And so, not surprisingly, the Democrats were polling like shit, even despite the fact, you know, they were not benefiting from the fact that Trump was also massively unpopular and people were terrified of him. And then, the DSA steps in, and you get, like, AOC and the Squad and those people who, you know, like, start winning primaries and showing up, and that allows the Democrats to sort of gesture vaguely and say, look, you know, there are people who might actually help you out, people who vote for Democrats. We're not as bad as it looks. Look, we've got AOC, we have a Cory Bush, you know, and shit like that. So we've actually been here before, and it achieved very little. I mean, the one thing it really kind of achieved was that there was one certified human being in all of Congress who actually was as appalled as was appropriate from the very start about the genocide in Palestine in the form of Rashida Tlaib. But, like, other than that...
There are the people who saw Trump as, like, oh, okay, like, he's, like, unnecessary bad to beat the Democrats, right? And so they went with it. But then as they gave in more and more, then now we have the absurdity that we have today.
What do you mean they gave in more and more? Who is he talking about? Give some names. Because what I'm actually hearing, like, he's trying to, like, claim that social democrats are this. When the people that he's describing are, like, the only people anywhere near the Democratic Party who really wanted to put up a proper fight, as it happens. I mean, the people who were giving in and basically, and just phoning it in and not bothering to do anything to actually stand up to the administration this time or the last are the people who are actually currently freaking out more about DSA than they are about, you know, genocide or...
The exact same thing with the far left if we don't do something to squash this as soon as possible, right? And then your second group is going to be people who are like...
all the violence, like, what did the fuck did the far left do to you? What, like, do you have a plantation in Cuba that we took away from you or something?
Right, they just don't care. They're just in it for, like, the political gain. So either A, you stand on some principles.
Well, the people... Okay, so the whole objection seems to be that these people stand on some principles, although I would argue that probably it's going to turn out that they stand on far fewer principles than they appear to now.
And know when to cut things. I guess B, you really just don't care. And we need to avoid a repeat of MAGA, except on the left.
How much do I know about politics? It has been a major part of my life for virtually my entire life. Hello, Mortal 321. So yeah, actually quite familiar. That my knowledge of politics does not extend to obscure, random, lib streamers like these. And if anyone has any information to offer about who the hell these people even are, I would be very curious. But yeah, I actually am quite well informed.
room.
Yeah, go ahead. Right now it's open discussion.
Okay.
I'll ask questions to simulate, but I don't want to be too active participant.
Yeah, okay, I got a question. What is the most threatening thing about the tankies in the DSA? How do you learn more? Well, reading, I mean, there is lots of reading that I could recommend. There are also some worthwhile YouTube channels, like, in terms of explainers, Thought Slime has some very good stuff, especially Thought Slime's older videos have a lot more sort of explainer type content. I don't know, I would say this, the Surfs are pretty good. John the Duncan, in terms of YouTubers. As far as a reading list, it would be, there are so many things that it would depend on the subject, because we're talking, you know, it could fill libraries. Yeah,
So, yeah.
I get the impression that that's probably unironically true, Thomas.
Another example I noticed before MAGA, the one before that.
Oh, we get an example, finally.
Was Gamergate. And I've written papers.
Oh, wait, okay, so we're going to equate leftists who actually took a stand against Gamergate with Gamergate.
This in classes about like new media stuff and all these kinds of things. Read books on like misinformation and memetics and how this stuff spreads. These movements tend to be onions. And I think it's very important to...
Oh, okay, so the movements, they're onions, you see. They're onions.
Like, separate this out and model what this looks like. Because a lot of these conversations, people end up talking past each other. In the core, you have someone who's, like, intentionally so bought in to an ideology, typically like a hate ideology.
Oh, okay, so you're saying that, the DSA is a hate ideology? Like, what I cannot stress is that we have not heard a single example of these people actually saying what they think is threatening about social democrats and why. They're just keeping it totally in the abstract.
That they will like say or do anything to make that happen knowingly. So like create propaganda or like manufacture stories. They think the ends justify the
Who does?
Means because they truly believe in their goal.
Like who though? Like some names. Who are you even talking about? Well, now she's brought up like fucking Gamergate, which has nothing to do with any of this except for all the people that they're slagging off here and, you know, calling a cancer that needs to be eradicated. Would have been against that.
Then you have like layer 2 are people who are also bought into that ideology and will even like
what ideology? You haven't actually defined the ideology.
Actually just believe and trust the examples of like racism fodder or whatever, or like actually believe the rhetoric and understand what it means. And they tend to also be kind of like giving their informed consent to actually believe in it. Then the third level are people who also join in and will say those same things and share those same things and like represent those things without knowing it. And
what
things
kind of, like,
though? A joke or not?
Surely what makes, you know, yeah, okay, she's describing a movement. Yeah, you have a hardcore of people who are generally the ones who kind of got it started in the first place. You have some people around them who are also highly committed and with together with the people who are sort of the core group that got it started in the first place, are doing most of the heavy lifting of the organization. And then you have a whole lot of people who would generally be called sympathizers. Yes, that is how movements, that is the structure movements tend to have, just on the whole. But what matters, like, is whether determining whether a movement is bad or good is probably at least in part what they're trying to do. Like what that description, that onion description, is as accurate to describe, you know, the civil rights movement as it is to describe the far right. It is just there are people with varying degrees of commitment in any movement. But when is the bad part going to come in about any of this?
And the fourth level are people who aren't even a part of the movement, but they just see those people who say it's not serious or it's actually about something else, and they take their word for it. So, like, with Gamergate, there's, like, intentional misogynistic...
Okay, but we're not talking about Gamergate, though, so why the fuck are we talking about this?
Misogynists and liars, like, about women. There's, like, a disgruntled ex-boyfriend of Zoe Quinn. Then there were, like, the actual, like, sexists on 4chan. Then there were all of the normies on YouTube who said, oh, it's just about ethics and games journalism, and thought it was fake. And there's a lot of normal people who didn't realize they were carrying water for all of that. Because they're like...
Okay. And what's your point, though? I mean, leaving aside the fact that what they're doing here is actually politically aligned with a lot of the people who were part of Gamergate. The people who are part of Gamergate, not Gatorgate, which is a scandal amongst alligators, I assume. The people who were part of Gamergate, that's the cider talking, I think, would also agree that social democrats are a communist cancer that must be eradicated. So these are not great examples. They don't make these people look good.
What do you mean? Like, that's just, they just said it's about ethics of game journalism. That doesn't seem to be that serious. And so it's a macro structure for diffusing responsibility. And like, no individual person is like actually evil, right? And then like they would say you're crazy, you point out like you're being misogynistic, but like a lot of them are like, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, Gamergate from a historical standpoint is interesting because it is one of the major sort of coalescing events of the modern far right. I mean, there is that. And there are still interesting developments around it, like Graham Linehan, like Evil Shrek, the creepy fucking turfman from Norwich, because Ireland has disavowed him at this point. Part of his like sort of turf development has been that he has actually gone around apologizing to the Nazis who were actually the driving force behind Gamergate. But so, okay, so yeah, Gamergate sucks. But, okay, so why is Gamergate, like, wanting healthcare?
Just jokes, it's not, like, super serious or whatever. But, like, at a big picture level, what is that machine they're feeding, and what is it actually doing?
Yeah, what is it?
And I'm really scared that's what we're seeing now.
Okay, but why? What's scary about this machine that you're seeing? Can you describe the fucking machine? Without just comparing it to other things that are totally different.
Like Maoists and acceleration.
What Maoists?
It's communists at the core.
Where? In DSA there are Maoists and wait, did she say
scared? That's what we're seeing now with like Maoists and accelerationist communists at the core.
Like, that doesn't even make sense. Accelerationism is actually an ideological tendency in fascism. And what Maoists and accelerationist communists are at the core of DSA.
Or into kind of like good faith, kind of naive progressives who don't realize that it is serious and not a meme.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that.
I mean, I don't think these people consider themselves leftists.
Interrupt, finish.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and then like, that's now penetrating the mainstream. People are like, what do you mean? Like, oh, they're liberals too. They like it too.
Like, okay, which Maoists? Are we saying that Hassan is a Maoist because he wore a suit he bought in China? I mean, even the PRC is you could hardly call the PRC Maoist at this point, for fuck's sake.
And don't realize, like, that kind of actual core harm.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of, like, and maybe in this discussion, it might be important to kind of showcase what it is they are doing.
Yes, that would be good! Talk about what it is they are doing and why it is bad. Because so far, all you've done is say, you know, there are these people, and if they were Nazis, it would be really bad, because, you know, they're also Nazis, and Nazis are really bad, and I think this is a lot like this, but I'm not going to tell you how or why or who these people even are. I'm just going to work myself into a lather and start talking about how they must be fucking exterminated and stuff. Like, okay, so yes, let's focus on what they do. Come on, the Wick, whoever the fuck you are. The lib quartering.
Because a lot of people won't understand the threat unless you spell it out.
Yeah, spell it out. Let's hear it. Come on.
Right? There are different, it's multivariable, right? There are different...
Ooh, it's multivariable.
People doing different things.
They're different people doing different things.
They all end up, intentionally or not, kind of working together to the same end.
What are the ends? Okay, so, I mean, yes, there are different people doing different things. There are lots of variables. And a lot of people who are doing different things, but they kind of are working towards the same end. Yeah, you're describing just, like, any group, kind of. But surely what makes it bad or not is what they're doing and to what end. Are we going to talk about that at all?
And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of people who claim to want to help the Democratic Party or help us beat MAGA do not actually want that goal. And
I mean, yes. For example, the third wave, for example, who are spending, I think it's like $15 million they've decided to spend not on trying to beat social democrats associated with the DSA in the general election. The third way dark money group, which is very influential in the DNC, is actually openly spending money in a war that, if they are successful, will result in Republicans getting elected. They call it a war. So yeah, those people definitely exist, but they're on your side.
And unless, like, Mike from PA famously said, I will continue to depress Democratic turnout until they bend the knee to the left, right? They are there to make it so bad.
No, okay. I don't know Mike from PA, but I don't think that he has the sort of self-aggrandizing delusions that it would be required for him to think that he is the one depressing Democratic turnout. Apart from everything else, he doesn't need to. And I mean, it's funny because there are memos that have just been leaked by the Republicans just recently, once again showing that they would actually prefer these so-called centrists, these right-wing candidates, very much the kind of people that these people are not afraid of, because they depress turnout. Because people who are like, yeah, well, the real problem with ICE is that they don't have enough money, and they don't have enough training and body cams and surveillance tech, and so we should just give them money, and then that'll be that problem. And maybe the way to deal with Israel is also to give them more money so they can do more genocide. And healthcare, no, fuck you, you don't get healthcare. And not surprisingly, people whose entire political identity is around telling working people that they have no hope of ever getting nice things, because the only people who actually matter are fucking billionaires, depress voter turnout. The Republicans are worried as hell about the way that, for example, that primary in Michigan just turned out. They had apparently they have open primaries in Michigan, so a lot of Republicans actually went in trying to swell the vote total for Haley Stevens, because they're pretty sure that Mike Rogers would beat her, because she would depress turnout because nobody likes her. I mean, the Republicans very clearly say the kind of people that these six dickheads like are exactly the sort of people who will help Republicans win. I mean, that's not just like leftists pointing this out. It's not just the polls pointing it out. The Republicans themselves are just openly saying, we kind of hope that these so-called centrists win it, because if these so-called centrists win it, then we'll have no trouble at all.
To make sure that MAGA wins so much that Democrats lose hope, Democrats think, well, we can't win doing what we're doing, we need to pass the torch to someone else.
Well,
and
I mean, again, they can't win doing what they're doing. And it did not, like, the DSA did not have some sort of big fucking conspiracy. Like, if leftists had the kind of power that these people think that leftists have, then these people would actually know what a Maoist is. Like, the idea that there's this grand fucking Bolshevik conspiracy, this DSA Bolshevik conspiracy to convince, all the poorest people not to vote for Democrats who have nothing to do, not to vote at all, really, because the only people they ever vote for are Democrats. But that's not how any of this worked. If you want to see when, there's a great article by Jim Hightower back in 2000, before the unofficial Florida recount confirmed that Gore actually won the state, even though Bush was allowed to claim the election because participation trophies. And he pointed out that working class, he said, okay, turnout amongst people with an income of 50 grand or less in 2000 money. That's the equivalent of 90 grand now, if you're wondering just how fucked we all are. But 50 grand or less was like 63% of the vote in the 1980s. Then the Clintons showed up and the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC, and moved everything to the right. With all sorts of, like, Wall Street policies and all sorts of bullshit, and NAFTA and the so-called free trade agreements, and the incarceration bill, and getting rid of the social safety net and all this shit. And by the end of the Clinton years, the turnout of people making less than $50,000 a year had gone from 63% to like 42%. Meanwhile, the relative turnout of people making $1 million or more had skyrocketed. And mostly as an artifact of the fact that a whole lot fewer people were voting. Like, literally, this is not the DSA's doing. These people do not want to acknowledge that there is something that there's a fundamental problem here, because the minute they acknowledge there's a fundamental problem, everything that they're saying sounds very silly.
Is for us to pass the torch to them so that they can have their shot. And they think that, once we get in there, of course people will vote for us because, they just don't vote for us now because they don't understand.
But the point, the reason that you're freaking out right now is because they do vote for them. The whole reason this would not be a problem, they would not be talking about this right now if it weren't for the fact that these social democrats keep on winning primaries and then general elections as well. It's not that people don't vote for them. It's the thing that scares the shit out of the people these people get their opinions from. I'm not going to speak for them. Speak for them because I've seen absolutely no indication that they're very well informed at all. But what scares the shit out of, like, the Third Way and the 1630 Fund and all these, like, so-called centrist groups is precisely that when working people actually have an alternative that is offering them the things that they desperately need, and a plan to move forward that could potentially improve their lives, then they fucking turn out in droves. If they actually believe that it's possible, if it's credible, and that's what scares them. If this were just like DSA keeps on running candidates and they keep getting their asses kicked in primaries because people don't like what they're selling, these people would not be talking about this.
Actually lived under our rules before. It's all been AIPAC and the DNC establishment, blah, 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 blah.
Well, it has all been...
And so these people are actively hurting us on...
Hurting you? Who's you? Who's us?
On purpose, intentionally. Look at the Fox News interview that happened with the DSA, what was it, a vice president? I forget what position she had. It was high up in the organization. That was a friendly interview. You got...
Wait, okay, so the fact that they did not come to blows makes it a friendly interview?
I understand that, right? They were on this. It was the same.
Oh well, then show us a clip.
Interview. The interview lady. What's her name? I'm sorry. I'm horrible with names.
Yeah, this is great because nobody can look this up and actually verify whether this is accurate. I would imagine that the reason it was a cordial interview, other than the fact that people tend to be civil in a media setting for the most part, unless there's a deliberate strategy not to, is because whoever it was that we're talking about was hoping that they could use the fucking platform as a way to reach out to people who are, like, voting for Republicans and are ill-served by it. That's an entirely possible read of that. I don't know if it's the case because this person has not told us anything that would allow us to verify it. The only Fox interview I can think of recently involving some kind of a DSA-ish type was Nathan Robinson went on there, of Current Affairs. So I don't know what the fuck he's on about here.
She was basically not contesting anything and saying, "Oh, you believe this?" And the DSA person was like, "Yes, of course we believe that." "Oh, you..."
Okay, like, for example, what, are we ever going to get any examples?
Believe in abolishing the police? Yes, of course we believe in abolishing the police. And some of the most...
Oh, wow, that's one thing, okay. And first of all, I don't even buy that that's what they said, But I mean, if so, good. That needs to be up for discussion because the cops are still murdering people. If you're not following what's going on in Madison, check it out. The media learned back in 2020 that if they show a rebellion happening, you get more rebellion. And so they're trying to just suffocate it by not even showing what's going on there. But it's been kicking off because people, when the cops there murdered Cory Ruiz, they said, local people set up a memorial for him. And they set up an encampment to defend it. And the city ordered the encampment be dismantled and the memorial be dismantled, and they sent the cops to attack the people, and the people have fought back. The images coming out of there are quite hardcore, and the reason you're not seeing more of it, the reason it's being suppressed is because, everybody knows that this problem is basically everywhere in the country, and so they don't want to they're hoping that this will suppress any kind of expansion of the uprising like we saw in 2020.
Dog shit policy positions you could possibly have.
Like, what? Okay, so you listed one that's actually not bad.
That are severely unpopular with the American people.
Like what? What's another one? Is that the only one?
And again, this is going to be tied to the Democratic Party. They will point to Mamdani. They will point to Chevrolet. They will point to other DSA candidates.
He doesn't even know the names of the people that they're scaremongering about.
Valdez, I believe. They will point to AOC. They will point to other people who may or may not share these same positions. Like AOC, I don't think share some of these positions, right? And they will tie it to us.
We've only heard exactly one position this entire time. 17 minutes into this thing, only one position, and one that I don't actually think was in fact espoused.
Hang it around our neck like a millstone.
Whose neck? Who the fuck are you that you have this millstone neck?
They are our enemies. I don't know how.
Why? Okay, why are they? Who the fuck are you that they're your enemies though?
I know. Look, I'm rambling. But
yes,
no,
you are.
It's just true. It's just correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, no need to actually provide examples or facts or anything verifiable. It's just true. It's correct.
Things that a lot of liberals or people that are more inclined on the left, I've seen them fall into, is this idea that we can't be punching left right now because.
Well, yeah. You mean you shouldn't be joining the fascists in their anti-communist crusade? Because they will come for you, because as far as they're concerned, you're commos too. They don't give a shit. They don't care that it's true. They're even sloppier with definitions than these six people are. I mean, these people call the Democrats communists. And it's not because of DSA. They were calling fucking Barack Obama one too. They've been doing versions of that literally my entire life. They were calling Clinton a fucking communist. I remember fucking Rush Limbaugh would call him like a socialist or a communist all the time. He was one of the most right-wing presidents we've had in the past 40 years. Okay. They don't give a shit. So yeah, joining Nazis in a left-bashing crusade is just shooting yourself in the foot. And if you don't understand that, that's because you really are too ignorant to survive, really. Yeah, I mean, like, literally, if you are this completely unaware of the dangers that are existing in the universe that you inhabit right now, you might as well be walking on thin ice with shoes with cleats on, and tap dancing, because these libs think that they can go, oh hey, Herr Obersturmbannführer, yeah, the communists are over there, yeah, why are you taking me to?
MAGA is like this ultimate evil, and it is a very hard talking point to refute, because
because like the other 5 people in here are all accepting it. In fact, what they've been trying to do is, check out Vitalist International on Twitter. They've been sharing quite a lot. All they've been doing is trying to say, yeah, the left, it's like MAGA if MAGA were leftist, but not in a way that they will explain.
MAGA is currently in power. They are the ones who are currently weaponizing our government against us and killing Americans on the streets right now. But
yeah, so maybe not. Don't side with them. Maybe siding with them is a bad idea. Maybe that's going to get you hurt. One last piece of my Caribbean red tear gas chili.
Because we recognize the current threat, that doesn't mean that we have to ignore the new threat that's being birthed with the rise of the DSA. With
the new threat, but you haven't actually explained why it's a threat. You've explained why fascism is a threat, but you haven't explained why it is that you think that it's actually safer for you to ally yourself with fascism.
In the Democratic Party, and if we can't fight against that, then everything that we've worked hard for in order to bring MAGA down, we're just going to have to do it all over again with a new DSA.
I mean, this is like the Allied High Command in about 1944 talking about, you know, the problem we gotta face here is we're gonna beat Hitler, but then we gotta deal with the Soviet Union next. It is like that strategic discussion right now, except that they're not going to beat him, and also they are colossal doofuses who are trying to have a conversation that they are utterly unequipped to have, and just riling each other up with these completely abstract things. Like, nobody has actually listed, okay, one, police abolition was mentioned, which I do not actually think is, let me just check this. I keep on hearing about this DSA platform. The DSA program. Okay, so I'm just going to put this up here because I want to know, is police abolition even in there? Because I would be absolutely shocked if it was. And for anyone following along in chat, here's what I'm looking at. I mean, looking at where these people are living, I don't even see that they have any to seize. Okay, end mass incarceration and police immunity. Okay, so here we go. Demilitarize police departments, disempower police unions, and redirect funding to public services as steps towards fully abolishing the police and prison system, which protects the rich. Okay, so they're saying the ultimate goal is abolition, but they're not trying to do that right now. End qualified immunity and empower civilian oversight bodies with real authority over the police. Like, okay. So that's actually better than I expected. But they're not saying, I mean, that is a far cry from just saying that the idea is immediately just end the cops, which isn't. That is a good idea. It should happen. It will not. And the thing is, the idea that you can do that from the state is just wrong. Like, the idea, I keep on hearing people be like, you know, the 2020 uprising failed because they sent more money to the cops. Well, what the fuck did you think they were going to do? You think the ruling class was just going to give up their last best line of defense against us? Like, just because we said, please, we're sick of cops, could we not have them? You think that they were going to do that? Just kind of hand over their, you know, just sort of surrender? That was never going to happen. Abolition is not going to happen because somebody in a city council somewhere says, okay, we're not going to do cops anymore. It is at best debatable whether there's any civilian authority over the police at all. I think as just a strategic matter that we should always presume that there is and act accordingly and hold civilian authorities responsible when cops violate court orders and use weapons that it's illegal for them to use and everything like that. But as a practical matter, I think it is entirely possible that they really don't really answer all that much. I think that is something that requires much more empirical investigation, and the only way you're going to get that, really, I would say, as if you had people actually trying to rein them in. And the fact that, like, one of the first things that Mamdani just got rid of was all his pledges around the NYPD. You know, around their bloated budget, around auditing, and around getting rid of Chief Tish, who is just an absolute scumbag. All of that just went away. And the NYPD had spent the election actually openly trying to manipulate it. So, yeah, it is at least an open question, at best an open question, whether there is any civilian authority at all over the cops, beyond the ability to cut off their supplies.
It's whatever they do if they make to gain power, so...
On that point, actually, let me follow up. So I think that yours and Wick's point actually could tie together. And I wonder, let me pose this to the panel. How do you all feel about framing the current divide that we're seeing emerge in politics, not as one of the right versus the left as much?
Oh, but it is.
As rather a liberal versus illiberal divide.
Well, I mean, that is a great way to equate your actual opponents with fascists. And obscure the fact that actually these people, as one of them just kind of quietly admitted, what the war that they're trying to wage here is one where they have fascists on their side.
So for example, with Wick, you know, having people from the VSA being able to go on to Fox News and give like a friendly interview,
which we have absolutely no evidence of, and we don't even have a name to look up.
That would, in my mind, explain why you could be able to see something like that, because they are on the same side. They're on the side of illiberalism.
No, they're not on the same team. Wait, okay, so you're saying you think Fox News is also on the side of police abolition? You think Fox News is on the side of, like, nationalizing the healthcare system?
And then north to you saying, like, well, there's a concern about punching left. Well, really, the concern is not about punching left. It's about punching the illiberals. It's about trying to...
Yeah, this is so convenient. Because, again, what they're trying to do is enlist people, encourage their viewers to join in a witch hunt that has been initiated by neo-Nazis. And if they admit that actually they're joining neo-Nazis to attack leftists, that doesn't look so... That just makes it sound like they're more Nazis, actually. I mean, I have to say, it's not a great look. So instead, they use this illiberal term, which is a term, it's worth noting, again, was popularized by Orbán Viktor in Hungary to describe his brand of fascism.
To defeat illiberalism. But that's just my opinion. What are the thoughts of the panel about that framing?
Are there any thoughts? I have not seen any evidence of that yet.
First of all, that concern about punching left, it's not real, right?
Yeah, I mean, on this panel, I don't see anyone who's concerned about it. As far as I can tell, these people don't even call themselves the left. I have not yet heard any of them call themselves... Liberals, yes. I have not heard any of them even suggest that they consider themselves left.
Well, that's what they say. They don't actually mean it, because they'll punch left all day. They'll punch Democrats all day.
That's not punching... Okay, no. That's not punching left, though. When you... See, the point of punching left is you're punching people who are to your left. People who are to the left of you. When you criticize people who are to the right of you, you are not punching left. Like, this is not that difficult to understand, and yet it seems to escape him.
They will, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem...
Wow, the leftists like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Jim Clyburn...
Yeah, okay, so right-wingers. They're punching to the right. That's not punching left.
Punch the shit out of those people, right?
Well, they're also... I mean, he just picked 3 of the most unpopular people in politics as well. Because, I mean, I don't think Clyburn has even that level of... But specifically, because Schumer and Jeffries have been MAGA's biggest fucking allies in Congress.
That are on the left, they do not care.
No, they're not on the left.
Don't punch them, right? They can...
Well, no, it's actually, see, when they're punching the right, that isn't the same thing as you punching the left and joining Nazis and doing it.
Punch whoever they like, but don't punch them. But to your question, yes. illiberal versus liberal is the correct dividing line here.
Yeah, because it avoids them acknowledging that they're aligning themselves with Nazis.
I think that's why it's important to define what the Democratic Party stands for and to reaffirm to people.
Well, why don't you explain why it is you object to... I mean, we've only had one policy position, not even particularly accurately represented, even mentioned amongst these people who are supposedly this huge threat. Why don't you... We haven't heard anything. We're in minute 20. There's been nothing except bluster around why these people are this threat and this cancer and stuff. Or even why it's bad.
Principle that you have to have, and this is non-negotiable, if you want to be considered part of the coalition. Right?
What coalition?
Not just an ally who votes with us sometimes, right? Not just someone we sometimes work together with, but an actual part of the coalition. You have to...
But what coalition? I mean, you're talking about the coalition between so-called centrists and MAGA? Because that sounds like the coalition that you're forming. Because you're picking... I mean, like, these people... Yeah, of course it erases the left in class. These people don't want to talk about that shit. But I mean, like, the only coalition that they have actually even discussed is the one where they and Nazis are going to punch left, and they think that Nazis are going to be okay with pretending that...
Have a liberal value system. You have
okay, what is a liberal value system?
At least have some core liberal principles about you.
Like what? Can you give an example? And give an example of how they don't have it. Like, can you even do that much? This is, like, they're talking now, they're not, okay, you can excuse people for not necessarily having the most refined understanding of the ideology of their political enemies. But now he's talking about his own avowed political ideology. So you would think that he could actually name some of the principles that he thinks are so non-negotiable here. Will he? I don't think so.
And you cannot be an authoritarian.
You were talking about eradicating these people as a cancer and, like, joining Nazis in attacking the left. That sounds kind of authoritarian to me, dog.
Those are the two, I think, what I would consider the one thing that is you have to have and one thing that you cannot have.
Well, but he hasn't... What do you mean? Okay. So you are... he's only listed one thing. Chat, am I wrong here? He has not listed a single actual one of these, like, liberal principles that he wants people to have. The one thing he has actually been specific about, to the extent that you called specific, saying don't be an authoritarian. Whatever the hell that means. But, I mean, this is another one of those terms liberals just use in a completely bizarre way.
And so, yes, liberal and liberal is the correct dividing line, and in order to...
he can't even... Okay... But he can't even describe the side of the dividing line he places himself on. This is the most ideologically impoverished political discussion I've actually witnessed in weeks. And that's including David Pakman.
Let's need to make it very clear that we do not accept illiberals into our...
Like, okay, but what does that mean? Are you going to ever get into what this means?
Miss, you can vote for our candidate, sure. We'll let you. But you
wow, okay, so that's not authoritarian at all. They will allow people, that's so nice, they will allow people who are their political opponents to vote.
The ship. You don't get to be in positions of influence or power. You don't get to be a staffer, even, to our politics.
Well, not that he's authoritarian or anything.
I want to, and the politicians should do that. They should.
They do that. I mean, he's acting like this is some sort of a new thing, but yeah, that is actually how the whole party is run. There are about a couple of hundred people who have any real say in how things work, and they're able to ensure that any kind of democratic impulse is bottled up and kept at the margins.
Acquire all their staffers, because a lot of people talk about the donors and how the donor class is messing us up, and how PACs and super PACs and money politics.
I wonder, speaking of the donor class and PACs and super, like, I wonder, I'm going to have to just look them up and see what they had to say when the whole Chorus Dark Money thing broke.
Six is a problem, and fair enough, but one problem
and fair enough
talk about is the staffer class.
The staffer class? You mean, low-paid university students and graduates. The staffer class. Yes, let's talk about the staffer class. Not the powerful people, the people who do the filing.
The staffer class holds huge, immense, unelected, and unaccountable power.
Yeah, let's make fucking file clerks be elected.
In our political system and in our parties, and this is driving each party, it's not just a Democrat problem, to very extreme issues, because what a politician will do...
Yeah, I mean, it's not the people with all the money and all the power who can make or break any political career just by deciding where they're going to spend. It's not those people, it's the people who do the filing. They're the ones who control the political system. This is what just came out of this motherfucker's mouth.
Is a lot of politicians, they came into power, they didn't know about this social media stuff, especially Democrats. They don't really have a connection with new media, as they call it, right?
Well, I mean, they had a connection with new media. The trouble is, every time people in new media who they had a connection with gets even mildly critical of them, they immediately cut them off. And so their only position at this point on new media is to try to, censor it along with the Republicans.
And they rely on their staffers to kind of guide them. In time, kind of like, well, you're young, you know these things. What should I be looking for? How should I be approaching things? What is it the kids want these days, right? And these staff...
Hey, wait, okay, so the idea is... So, the staffers are the reason that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries think what the kids want these days is taco Trump jokes and more war on Iran?
Staffers are driving them towards people like Hassan Piker.
Yeah, I mean... Because he's had such a warm welcome from the Dems. I mean, the wild thing about this is most people had not heard of Hassan Piker. And then after Abdullah Syed decided to do some campaign events with him, that some right-wing Democrats decided to start scaremongering around him. At a time when, roughly, according to a poll that I saw at the time, was 72% of the public had no idea who the fuck Hassan Piker was. And so they was like, we gotta limit the influence of Hassan Piker. We gotta stop Hassan Piker. And so people started looking up Hassan Piker, and the result was Hassan Piker ended up becoming much more popular than he already was. Because people saw who was scaremongering about him. They saw the name. They looked it up, and it's like, wait, okay, so he actually sounds pretty good.
It's a problem.
That's kind of like what I was bringing up earlier, when I was saying that they're making these unbelievable promises.
But you couldn't come up with a single example.
They're definitely not going to be able to fulfill. I also kind of want to touch on the fact that you said.
She does not seem to understand the difference between a promise and an objective. They're not saying we are going to do these things all at once and that this can be done with the stroke of a pen. They're saying these are objectives that they for this movement of theirs, or the movement that they're trying to make happen. That's not the same thing as a promise. Yeah, the point is, yes, there's going to be a struggle on all of those things. I don't think that there's anyone in DSA who would actually probably disagree with my framing there. They would probably disagree with a lot of my framing around DSA. I'm not the biggest fan of DSA, but I don't think they would disagree with me on that.
You absolutely have to have a dictator in order to carry any of this out, because under their voting structure, they want to eliminate the two-party system.
Wait, yes, because really having two parties, really in reality just one, has created a situation where the majority of the public, since the 1980s, when they've been asked, do you think that we have enough party options, voting options, or would you like to see more parties besides just Democrats and Republicans? And it's the majority say they would actually like more options. So...
and the elimination of the two-party system just simply doesn't work with the current voting system.
Well, yeah, I mean, the current voting system also sucks.
Because they also want to eliminate the popular vote. And
no, they don't want to eliminate the popular vote. That's the one thing they want to have.
And the popular vote simply does not work without the two-party system.
Wait, except in all the places where it does. These people...
What would work is something called ranked choice voting, because if you have multiple different parties and everybody's voting...
That is also a popular vote. You don't seem to... like, these people... I cannot stress how much these people's freak out seems to be down to the fact that they do not understand anything.
For different things, you're going to have one party that's going to win out only because maybe it has a tiny more... So let me give an example. Have you ever heard of ranked choice voting?
Yeah, I mean, because what she's talking about is that the U.S. has past the post voting, which sucks. And yes, and my understanding is that they would probably be on side with getting rid of that because it sucks, and I think they would agree with that as well. I bet that's actually in this program of theirs. Okay, expand and protect voting rights and voter suppression. What else do they say about voting? Yeah, okay, here we go. Implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections and abolish the Senate. That is under the section called a Democratic Congress. That is literally what they're calling for. This is the objective that they've set. But it is time for me to wrap up for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And if you enjoyed the stream and would like some more of it, I will be back tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time.